You've done some things to make the saxophone easier for kids to play. What did you do?
You mean technically?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of what makes a saxophone play well is the way that it's set up. Saxophone, I'll give you 30 seconds of technique on technical stuff. You got holes and you got pads that cover the holes. That's pretty much it. That's what a saxophone is. When you press this key down, if that pad doesn't cover that hole perfectly, when you blow your air through it, it's going to leak out and it's going to cause you to have to push a lot harder to get the same response out of the saxophone. Because the saxophone vibrates too. So what we've done is, first of all, I created a saxophone with a tone that comes from, inspired by my antique saxophone.
That we just heard a few seconds ago. Okay.
Yeah, and my partner Ruben has moved to China, where when they come off of the assembly line, well, they're not really assembled. I mean, they're very, very much handmade as well. But he makes sure that every pad is working perfectly, so that when a saxophone player, a kid, picks up my saxophone and they blow it, they're going to feel the response, and it's going to be perfectly set up for them right off the bat.
Now, the business about the embouchure and how difficult that was for kids. What did you do with that to make that was a killer for kids?
Well, that's something that only practice can help.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and the embouchure is, and that's the good thing about this, and this is what kids should understand, is that like if you pick up a video game and you start it, it's going to give you instant feedback. Good, like, oh wow. A saxophone doesn't do that for you. Nothing in life that's worthwhile gives you great feedback right away. Maybe you might fall in love right away, right? But you still have to work at it over time. You grow like a skill. Tiger Woods, for example, he started playing golf when he was 3 years old. He won, he didn't win his first golf tournament right away. An embouchure is one of those things on a saxophone, it takes years to develop, and kids should understand that it's worth it. That's the key. Put the time in. The part of the fun is watching yourself get better and better over time. 2 or 3 years into playing the saxophone, you're still not going to have a great, beautiful tone. 5 years, you may not have a beautiful tone. 10 years, you're going to start to have a pretty nice sound. 15 years, you might have a beautiful tone.
That's what kids want to hear. Okay.
They want to hear that it's going to happen in a year.
Okay.
But they have to understand that it doesn't happen like that. But the point is, it's worth it because if you're really motivated and you really love it and you stick with it, you will be one of the few in the world that will have that skill. I mean, this is a skill that takes time to develop. And if you're lucky enough to have the passion for it and the time to do it, then it's a great thing to do. Obviously, if you're 30 years old and you got to pay your bills, starting to play the saxophone probably won't work out for you as a vocation because you don't have the time to develop. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it at 30 years old. You of course start it, but don't think that that you'll be able to become a professional saxophone player in a few years. It might take you 20 years. So maybe if you start at 30, at 50, you can play a gig.
Now, just a couple of short questions, and then we're through.
Go ahead. You can ask as much as you want. I'm good.
Okay. We are worried about how much practice does a person like you do now, like for that Latin album that you just did?
Yeah.
What kind of practice did Kenny G actually have to do to get in shape to do that at the level that, because you're trying to make a great impression on the Latin side and you wanted to be your best. What did you do to pull that off?
Well, on a regular basis, my practice is about 2 hours a day.
2 hours a day?
Yeah.
Religiously?
Now, religiously. Now, I didn't do it this morning because I was coming here today, but I have a gig tonight, and by the time I play today and warm up, I'll put my 2 hours in. But I play 2 hours every day.
2 hours every day?
Every day. And why do I do it? Because, first of all, I love it. But it's also that I want to get better. I mean, okay, there's a certain level you get to, and I played enough to where I can say I'm at a top level of playing, but I want to get better and better and better. I mean, Tiger Woods still practices, doesn't he? Isn't he the best golfer ever?
Right.
Okay, so he still practices. Why? Because he wants to get better.
Okay.
I want to get better. To prepare for this Latin record, I practice my 2 hours in the morning, just so that my technique and my embouchure and everything is ready to go. When it's ready to play, I'm going to be at my top form. And then I had to just kind of learn the songs. But learning the songs is more about just from here, less of the technical side of things.
Now, the world wants to know, what size reed do you use?
Oh, well, I use a 2.5.
A 2.5?
A 2.5 reed. It's a Rico, and it's actually one of their signature reeds called a Frederick Hemke.
Oh, okay.
That's the reed I use. A Frederick Hemke 2.5. Now, one thing that I do is I label my reeds. Every reed I have has a little. That's a little abbreviation that tells me something.
Oh, okay.
Now, my N means new, and P means practice.
Oh.
This is a new practice reed. Now, this new practice reed got really good as I was practicing. So now I can play it for I can play it for people. But at first, it started only as a practice reed, and I labeled it as a new practice reed. So I could play it. Maybe I'd play it like 45 minutes, then I put it away and play another one. And pretty soon, after enough time, this one became very good.
Guys, you got to get a shot of the close-up of the reed in the back. This is an exclusive for Kids Talk Radio. He labels the back of his reed, so for those of you that can't hear, and he's got a little P for practice and an N for new. And
that's this particular reed, but I have other labels too. Some of them are bad words.
Oh, okay.
It's like that reed I'd never play again.
Okay, we cannot put that on Kids Talk Radio.
No, we don't.
Okay.
But it's one thing that kids should understand is that music, it's just great. It brings a lot of joy and a lot of. It's a great thing to add to your life, and why? Because first of all, it's never boring. It's not boring because it can always get better. It's not going to give you the instant stimulation that other things will give you. Videos, games, all that stuff. That gives you a lot of instant feedback. This isn't going to give you quite the same, but in time, it's going to give you a lot more.
Now, you personally, what kinds of things do you do for kids? Are there any special things you do? Or?
Well, I started a foundation called the Miracles Foundation a long time ago where proceeds from the sale of certain songs on my records go to help bring music back to schools. And I've donated many musical instruments to many schools. But now that I've got this new saxophone line, my partner Ruben and I, we've made a commitment that we're going to take a certain percentage of the saxophones that we make, and we're going to go to different schools, and we're just going to give saxophones back to schools, just kind of supply schools with horns. So we'll figure out all the logistics of that. But now that we're making them ourselves, it's going to be a lot easier to make them and give them away.
Okay, now this is my last question to you. We wanted to know what you were like as a high school student.
Oh, well, okay. I was a straight A student.
You were a straight
A student, yeah.
Kenny G was a straight A student. You guys taking notes?
I got A's in everything. Very good in math.
Very good.
Music and math are probably supposed to go along. I was very good in math. My favorite subject.
So did that help you with the saxophone stuff?
I don't know. Maybe the music helped with the math.
Okay.
I don't know. My schedule was 7 o'clock in the morning. If you wanted to go to jazz band, since it wasn't part of the regular day, you had to want to do it. There was enough of us at the school. My school, we were so into music. So we created a new class that was before the regular school started. So I was at school at 7 a.m. every day with all my friends playing jazz. And then after school we'd do gigs. But I was about 88 pounds in high school. Pretty small kid and pretty shy.
Any sports?
I was the captain of the golf team.
Captain of the golf team. Okay.
Yeah, but I never broke. My best score in high school was 74. That was the best I could shoot in high school. So it wasn't bad then, but I'm better now.
And what does Kenny G do just for fun that has nothing to do with the saxophone?
Well, I would say go out and play golf.
Go out and play golf.
Yesterday, the day before yesterday, I was down at the Bob Hope Chrysler Classic, and I got to play one day, and I played with George Lopez and Cheech Marin, and I played with Samuel L. Jackson and Luke Wilson, and that was fun. That was a lot of fun. And that's fun.
Had nothing to do with the saxophone.
Nothing to do. Although George did plug the Golf Channel about my new Latin record, which was a good thing.
Well, anyway. Kenny G, I want to thank you very much. And on behalf of Kids Talk Radio, we'll do everything that we can to tell the world about the wonderful things you're doing for kids.
One thing we're going to try to do also is we're going to try to get together with the music educators and tell them all the great things that we're going to do with the saxophone, so that hopefully, when schools are buying instruments for their kids, there's a lot of companies that want that business. I'd like that business for a number of reasons. One is for business, I'd like the business. But I also know that I'm going to give the students a product that they're not going to get from anywhere else. And also, I'm going to make a commitment as well as to visit schools. Like if let's say a school decides they want to buy a dozen of my saxophones for their thing, I'll come and do something special at that school. So there'll be a lot of like win-win situations there, and I hope that we can do that, because it'd be a lot of fun for me to get back in touch with the kids at the school level, and if I can promote my saxophone line at the same time, it's also